Is BGC actually the best city in the Philippines for a guy over 50 to retire to? Is it really worth the price? Well, let's find out. The first category is cost versus lifestyle, and I'm using my 8 category scorecard that I'm using for all of the cities that I'm reviewing here in the Philippines. Well, BGC is a good lifestyle, but make no mistake about it, it is a bubble. So being a bubble, it's clean, it's safe, it's modern. Everything is to a Western standard essentially, but you're gonna pay a price for that. So in this category, I'm giving 3 out of 5 stars because BGC basically is the most expensive place to retire to in all of the Philippines, except for maybe certain beach destinations. And do you get value for that? Well, it depends on what lifestyle you're looking for. So a high-rise condo with the pool, gym, security, yada, yada, is gonna run you a pretty penny. So I recommend BGC for anyone who basically has $2,600 a month or more, preferably over $3,000 a month. If you go right outside BGC, like outside the bubble itself, your rent can come way down, but then you're sacrificing the whole reason for being in BGC in the first place. So everything you might have heard or seen about BGC before is generally true. And I spent 2 weeks there and I validated it. It's nice. It is very modern. The streets are wide. The sidewalks are very walkable. There's not a ton of traffic like there is right outside the bubble. But the moment you try to leave the bubble, yeah, you're going to run into that. And we'll talk about that more in a moment. So I did like BGC, and I do think it's a great soft landing spot for men who are coming out of a Western major city. The restaurants, the amenities, the shopping, the safety, everything will be right up to your standards. But for any other guy coming out of smaller towns, I think BGC might just be too much city. And you're paying a pretty penny for that. And is that really worth it? For most men, probably not. But 3 out of 5 stars on what you get for your rental costs. High-rise condos there, by the way, are a little bit larger in square footage than you'll find in Cebu City. So that's kind of nice, but you're going to spend a big chunk, at least $1,200 to $1,500 a month on your rent to live right inside BGC. But housing costs aren't that important if you're dead. So let's talk about healthcare. I'm going to go with 5 out of 5 stars here because the nicest hospital in all of the Philippines, St. Luke's, is right at the edge of the BGC bubble. And if you don't need St. Luke's, there's still other healthcare options right around you, from small clinics to other large hospitals. So basically, it's as good as it gets in the Philippines. And in the scoring, everything is relative for the Philippines itself. So I'm not comparing BGC against New York City. I'm comparing BGC to Cebu City or Clark or Iloilo. So healthcare is 5 out of 5 stars. All right, let's talk about infrastructure. Again, 5 out of 5 stars. Doesn't get any better than that because BGC is funded well by the Philippine government. It has good drainage, so flooding isn't an issue. But right outside BGC in the surrounding barangays, yep, there's definitely flooding. But while I was there, there were some extreme heavy downpours. And while you wanted to get under an awning and out of it, traffic kept flowing, everything kept working. There were no brownouts, no major issues at all. So infrastructure is pretty good. The roads are wide, the sidewalks are good, etc. However, on that, I walked around during the middle of the day, and there's a lot of workers in general in BGC. It's not just all expats. It's mostly locals who live in the barangays come into work, which means at lunchtime they are out trying to get lunch. So there were several times where I just wanted a bottle of water and I'd pop my head into a 7-Eleven or a convenience store and the line was 12 to 15 people deep. And sometimes that's moving very slowly. So there is crowds, there is congestion, there is people on the sidewalks in your way. So although the sidewalks are wide and walkability is good, once you factor in the people, not so good for big portions of the day, like between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m., pretty darn crowded. Okay, but is there a trade-off to get that awesome infrastructure? Absolutely, yes, there is. So let's talk about beaches and nature. I'm giving BGC 1 out of 5 stars here, which is the lowest rating of all the cities I've done so far in the Philippines. I'm not going to go too in-depth into this, But suffice to say, there is no beach because it's locked within a surrounding absolutely massive city that has heavy traffic. So if you say, well, I want to go do a day trip to get to a waterfall or nature, well, it could take you 2 hours just to get outside the city. Now, that may be an exaggeration on a Saturday afternoon. If you hop on a bus, yeah, you could probably get out of there in maybe 30 minutes, but you're not going to get to any place that is amazing recreation right off the bat. Yes, there are some parks and some green spaces, but that's not what this category is all about. The coastline isn't that far away. You could get to the Subic Bay area, which is coast, in maybe 1 hour or so, but that's not exactly a beach where you can sit and relax. There's no white sand beaches, there's no tropical paradise nearby, but 2, 3, 4 hours away by driving, there's all kinds of options, but that isn't super accessible and it's best done on a 2 or 3 day weekend. So I'm giving 1 out of 5 stars here. So that's the trade-off. On the flip side, modern conveniences are totally there. So 3 out of 5 stars when it comes to modern conveniences versus traffic. I was a little torn on this one because when you're in BGC itself, you're not really dealing with traffic. Everything you need as far as stores, shops, restaurants, any product you need to lay your hands on, you can get to just by walking to it. So you're not dealing with traffic. So from that perspective, it's probably a 5 out of 5. But if there's something that you need to leave BGC for to get to and go into Manila to get to it, you're going to be dealing with heavy traffic, lots of noise, lots of chaos, possibly flooding if it's raining, etc. And no one wants to stay in a bubble 24/7 when you're retired and trying to live your life and enjoy a great lifestyle. So it really boils down to if you're a city person and you want to be in a major city and you don't need nature or anything like that, and you're going to stay in the bubble, well then, yeah, 5 out of 5 stars. But if you're trying to have a variety of lifestyles and enjoy all of the nature that the Philippines has to offer, to get to it, yeah, you're going to have to deal with that traffic. So that's why I bumped it down to 3 out of 5 stars. When it comes to vibe, the overall vibe, well, the vibe is city. It's modern. It's urban as urban gets in the Philippines. I'm going to rate that 3 out of 5 stars, but this is a very subjective category. As I said earlier in the video, if you come from a big city and you like big city and that's what you want, then you're going to absolutely love BGC. But if you come from a medium-sized city or a small town or from a rural area, you might just hate BGC and hate the vibe overall. So it depends on what you're looking for. For me personally, I did like the convenience of the condo living. Nothing is more than 2 or 3 blocks away, so that is freaking awesome. So it worked pretty well for me. But I could tell that it was starting to wear thin after a few weeks, and I was ready to get out of there and see something else. So I tend to think of BGC as a great soft landing place for transitioning from Canada or from the United States to the Philippines. I think BGC is awesome. You're going to want to fly in, relax a little bit, unwind, decompress, get a few massages, enjoy BGC. But at some point, I think you're probably going to want out of there. So BGC is going to be great for a lot of men, but I would say not for most men, and probably a temporary soft landing spot at best. Let's talk about walkability, recreation, and gyms. I'm giving 3 out of 5 stars here. BGC, I think in general, is pretty good when it comes to just walking around. If you're trying to get 10 or 15,000 steps a day in to get a little bit more fit, yes, you can absolutely do it in BGC. There are several nice parks that are pretty large. They can get a little bit crowded with joggers and people getting their exercise in, but overall not too bad. And certainly the bubble is large and the streets are wide, the sidewalks are wide, but there are a lot of people, as I mentioned before, especially workers during the day on their lunch break. There are some outdoor fitness stations, there is golf nearby, and there are plenty of nice gyms around. Your condo is probably going to have a gym, but if you want a real workout facility, they are right there in the major shopping centers, but you are going to pay a pretty high membership fee, as high as it gets in the Philippines. So you're paying for that convenience. So that's why I'm landing right in the middle at a 3 out of 5 stars. But let's talk about the overall value, the final category. I'm going with 3 out of 5 stars on this one. It's pretty good. You get a modern, clean city. It's enjoyable. You might be satisfied there for a few months, but I think at some point it might start to wear thin a little bit. I think it's just it's a good place to transition to the Philippines. Let's just put it that way. And if you're a city boy and you've got a big budget and that's your thing, you might stay. But I think most people watching this video, especially solo men, oh, let's talk about the dating a little bit. This ought to be mentioned. I was swiping on Tinder and I did have some dates there, and there is absolutely a hookup culture, a pay to play transactional type of hookup culture. So you are going to want to use the dating apps and like Tinder or Bumble, and you're going to have to weed through a lot of pay to play types, and that's a pain in the butt. So I will mention that. But as far as the overall value, I think BGC is a good starting place for almost anybody, but as a destination to live long term, I really don't recommend it unless you just love bars and restaurants, you need a lot of nightlife, and you have a big budget that will afford you that lifestyle. Well, then BGC might be the best thing since sliced bread, at least in the Philippines. So BGC ends up at 26 out of 40 stars for me. Not a bad place, but it just wasn't my vibe. And 26 out of 40 is relatively low score compared to some of the other cities here, but it is worth checking out. And I liked it a lot more than I did Cebu City, which was more chaotic and more noisy. BGC is basically like IT Park or Business Park in Cebu City, only about 5 times as large and even more modern with less traffic. So from that perspective, pretty good place, but the lack of nature, the lack of beach, the congestion during the middle of the day when workers are out and about, and just the overall lack of variety in it being a bubble left it a little bit lacking for me. So it's a good place for a soft landing, but not what I would consider a home base. Make sure you like and subscribe because I have 2 more videos coming out, one on Clark and one on Baguio. And those are very, very different cities from BGC, and they actually scored a lot higher. So if you want to check out those videos, subscribe, stay tuned, and I'll see you in the next video. So long.